Good evening, and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Terry Van Dean from Leatherwolf. How are you?
I'm good.
Glad we could do this a second time. I didn't have the music last time, so break the fourth wall. I'm back, and I've had a lot of time to analyze it and break it down and do some side by side, as I told you. Um, it's as strong as the first two albums. I feel but here's the thing with those, because when a band does its first albums, you can never touch any band's first couple albums because there's something about it.
Yeah.
These strongly sit right with them. You know, it's like, but the production, if say those are like a 9 or a 10, the production on this is like a 12. It's
Well,
like that
that's
much
because I did
louder,
it.
right? It's just that much better, and it's not about effects. It's the album's just like heavier, but it's also crisper. You can hear everything. You did a good job on the production, so
Well,
kudos
that's
on that.
Randy helped us out on that. He's like such a legendary engineer,
Mhm.
and he's just got back in the business, and he's better than anyone else that's done stuff for us.
I mean, it's productively through the years. It was obviously the last couple albums were. I think you did the last ones too, right? So each time, they
Well, we did a live record, and I think it was 2013 or whatever, and then we did World Asylum in 2006.
right, and then you did a remake of that one, right? The new one. After
Yeah,
that,
we
you had
did one
the
with Mike because we just ran into some issues with Wade, and we wanted to tour with the original guys, so we just decided to put him back on that record.
That's cool. How'd it go? How the fans take that? Like doing so similar with two different singers so quickly? Were they like,
Everyone likes the Wade version better,
yeah? It's
and
interesting because
he was
some
part of
bands
the
have done that.
process, so I get all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and I'm just saying it's more of, I just ask more of a fan's view of a song of an album. I'm not looking to get into the politics of Leatherwolf. You guys have had enough ups and downs, and it's more about this how the fans have taken the music, because when you get used to something, you're used to it. So when you put another component into it,
I guess
people have
that's one of the
opinions.
good things about not putting out a record every year. You don't get that big of a fan base, so you can get away with some more stuff.
And the last time we were talking of our unreleased interview, I was thinking about, and actually, and I know you get this asked a lot. People are like, "Why do you think you guys didn't get bigger?" Yada yada. And I'm listening to the albums, and I think when you do your first Leatherwolf, like literally from Leatherwolf into Street Ready, the sound changes so much. You guys sound like so much heavier. It almost feels like you have almost like two different genres, almost. You
Well, the
know,
first record was more heavier. The Island records were a little bit more. Just a different engineer, just a different sound. You know.
really, 'cause I feel like the songs are the more guitar into heavier on the second one, and less ballady than the first one. It just feels like it was just a different animal.
Well, Jeff wrote most of that record, so he's a guitar player.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It's pretty good. So, anyway, let's go back to the new one. The process started. You were hinting and got a lot of fans excited in 2019. The lineup was a little bit different then, but you released a
Well,
single.
Kerry was still here, Jeff was still here, and Paul might have been the equation, at the very beginning. And that thing we released with the henchman was that was Jeff playing bass,
Hmm.
and so we just did that demo, and then after that, Kerry disappeared. You can just look online at Kerry Howe FTC and find out what goes on there. And then got Barry Sparks to play, who's just like a monster, way
Yeah.
better than everybody I know. And then things went south with Jeff, and so after those four songs, and then after I finished the drums and the bass, just me and Rob sat here for a couple of years and finished the record with
Wow.
Keith.
Okay.
Keith he's another phenomenal singer. That we just really got lucky to find someone that could sing that would fit in, with the Leatherwolf vibe and just belt it
Right.
out.
Has he like where did he come from? Was he in other local bands? I mean,
Yeah, he's just a local guy playing in a couple other different bands, and it was a freak of nature how I found him. And then he came over and sang, and we just go, this guy can sing. And we just
oh
from then
yeah.
on he actually wrote most of the vocals for the whole record. So it was really cool to have that off my plate.
It's really good. I would say to fans that haven't heard it, it comes out in the 11th actually. It's Leatherwolf. It's your Leatherwolf band. But it could also feel like it's a new band on some level because it's so fresh to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be because of the new songs and new material and different singer and the production, but it just sounds like it's like 2.0 without knocking anybody else. It just feels like everything's just that much in your face. Everything's just louder, and it's so great to hear a good album, solid with solid vocals, solid guitar and drums and everything nowadays in 2022.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah, I think this is just my take on the whole Leatherwolf name thing, because back in the day I didn't write all that stuff. I just wrote my parts to those albums.
yeah.
And it was always Carrie, Jeff, and Mike that did most of the writing, but it was mainly Jeff for the good stuff. And on this one, that Jeff wrote did a majority of the writing. Again, just didn't plan anything because he didn't show up. And so I got to sit around with Rob, and we just got to write the second, the third, harmonies, lead sections, just do a bunch of little stuff that normally the guitar players do. And
What?
working with Rob Math is just phenomenal because he's like the nicest guy on the planet, and he just shreds. He can just shred. It's super cool. And then even Barry Sparks or even the singer, they're all like really good musicians.
Yeah, it's a very solid lineup too. Um, Now, do you play other instruments besides drums?
Well, on Kill the Hunted, I played the rhythm in the first half of the song. I start off the song playing the guitar,
Okay, so you do play guitar. Okay, I
but
didn't know
not
if you.
like not like Rob. I mean, it's
No, no,
like
no, no.
I'm here and those guys are up here.
Right, right, right. Well, but to put out a song, I'm saying because if you look at some of your music in the past couple of years, you're like the sole credit person, depending on what streaming site it is. So clearly you have to
Only as
write it.
producer for these latest songs. Jeff and I were the main guns on World Asylum, and you go before that. I'm not the main guy at all. I'm just the drummer. This one I got to produce. I've been basically paying and funding the whole thing since '99. All 4 albums I pretty much funded. So this one I had more input on the guitar related stuff.
Well,
And
yeah,
it was just nice working with Rob because he could play and his ideas were just super killer.
that's interesting. So that's a lot to like be almost you're almost like being your own record label. I mean, to come in and financially support an album is not a cheap thing.
Well, I basically at the end of the day, I am the label. For
Right.
the live record in '99, for World Asylum, for Unchained, and for this. It's something that I did because I love what Leatherwolf is or should have been and what it is, and I just wanted to play music, man. So I just started something and I always finish, no matter what direction it goes, and just
I
do
hear
the
you.
best I can.
In retrospect, I mean, a lot of people first like Leatherwolf should have been bigger, whatever. But if you look back at some of the bands that were bigger back then, they're not around anymore. So the fact you've had the slow burn, you know, is kind of a good thing
You
at
know,
some level, right?
you just don't know about that stuff, dude. You just don't you don't know. And but at the end of the day, I can play my drums and I can record albums and I've learned from a lot of my friends how to do things properly.
Right.
And then if you get good engineers and you get good like Randy Burns who can mix,
Hmm.
it just brings it out to a higher level of recording.
Well, I'm saying the fact that you guys are still here is a really good thing, actually. You didn't just like burn bright and then go away. You know, you
Yeah.
guys stuck it. You stuck it out through thick and thin. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I would have had it my way and I was a guitar player and I could write, I just would have wrote a lot more records,
Right.
you know, instead of
Well,
playing
hey,
the old songs for 10 years.
I hear in that, but I'm glad to say I'm just trying to say I'm glad you guys are around still putting out music because this is a solid album. You know,
Oh, well, thank you very much.
that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of bands I listened to back in the day don't or they can't put an album out like this. So there's
Well,
a lot to be
usually
said for that.
bands get more simpler as they get older. We don't. It's just not my thing. I'm not a fluff guy. I'm just like, just drill it, and make it be good and make the guitar playing be good and a higher level of changes and stuff like that. And plus, Jeff is a phenomenal writer and a phenomenal player, and it's just natural for him to come up with that stuff.
Any chance you think you guys will kind of get resolved at least on some kind of songwriting level? You
No,
and Jeff? No. Okay,
no. I'm
I hear you.
it's just, hey, he's his own guy and he does his own thing, and we just live on 2 different planets, and it's never gonna work out.
Well,
It would
at
have
this
been
point in your
fun,
life,
I
yeah,
started with the original guys or most of them, and it just didn't pan out, man.
yeah, I hear you. Well, I mean, life doesn't get any shorter, so you want to keep having fun. So I get that. You
Yeah.
want to do all the negative. Your drumming is phenomenal. Um, You
Well,
don't
thank you.
overplay it, but you play it. It's you. I mean, you play like an 18-year-old. You don't play like a 6-year-old. It's incredible amount of energy you have. But you also your fills are different. They're more interesting. You're playing. It's very interesting. It's not static beats. You know, it's really. It feels like it's really thought out in the song. And I think people need to like because obviously you listen to an album like this. You look at the guitars and there's the triple guitar attack, so you're really overwhelmed. But if you can stop and you hear it enough, or when you put it in the headphones, you listen to the drums. There's a lot of different things going on there that you don't
Well,
always hear.
I just kind of got my own style. My main drumming influence is John Bonham from Led Zeppelin, and it wasn't about the speed of the fill. It was about the coolness of it, and
Right, right,
that's the funny thing is this time around when we started this I swim and I play water polo, so I had to get surgery, so I couldn't play for like a long time. And so I got Superior Drummer and I started writing to the grid in Superior Drummer. So you get to hear see the whole song and you get to come up with riffs with fills and stuff, and then as long as they're not super hard, you can go play them live, So
right.
that's why this record it took me 3 days to record my drums for World Asylum. This one took me 10 because
Wow.
it was tricky, because I didn't get to practice enough, and I got a day job, and so it was I think I did pretty good, on this one.
Well, and that's what I'm gonna say. To me, and I love to notice like with drums, like drums you can't do at home. You have to go in a studio to record them. I know. I think you've said that. I think you did this one in a studio. You can't. You do most things at home now or a home studio. Drums, you really need a great setup to do a good drum sound, which is what you did for this album. But like with drum fills, I find almost like when people like can sing really great notes, but it feels like every note they're doing all kinds of crazy acrobats with it. You're like, I just want to hear a song with a couple cool things in it. Just like drum fills can be obnoxious in a song if you don't do it right, you know. And
Well,
that's the difference of this album. Everything.
well, thanks. I just try to give it a vibe, not something that's phenomenally and hard like to play,
Well,
but
you
I
want to
just
serve
try
the
to get
song
something that has
too.
a little melody to it and that's just kind of cool, but it's a little tricky to play.
Let's talk about some of these songs though. I mean, you start right at the gate, hit the dirt is like explosive. You know, it kind of
Which
sets
is
the
not my
pace.
style of drumming at all. So that was a hard one to get those verses down and actually play them. That was tricky. Through the whole song. And when me and Rob were working on that was a Jeff song. It
Right.
was arranged a little bit differently. The beginning and end weren't there, and the only part we liked was the chorus. So then I put that little vibe in for the verses and the bridge, and it just
Hmm.
kind of it kind of made it a little more interesting. And it just grew as we started, working on it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You put that song, and the first thing you hear that in your speakers. You're like, whoa, this Leatherwolf's not slowing down at all. You know, that is the opening track that sets the pace. You know,
Yeah.
I
Well,
know
that was
people.
another thing is I didn't want to do a hideaway or calling type of thing, and I wanted to do something that was a little bit more metal and a little semi-commercial. It's a simple song, in arrangement wise,
Right.
and it has some balls to it.
Well, I think it's good because a lot of albums are being. Everyone's had a lot of time to sit down for a couple of years now. That aren't doing albums. They're putting albums out now, so the bar is raised a little bit this year with albums coming out. Um,
It's
you guys
hard to
hold
get
to it.
records to sound this good. You got to actually put some time into. I went to a studio down in San Diego, and I had some good engineers, for tuning my drums and for getting mic placements right, and just getting the levels all dialed. Michael Kramer helped me. Um, Mustache Mike from San Diego helped me, which he was super good. And
Well, yeah, Mustache Mike, that's a great moniker there.
yeah, and there was another guy, I can't forget his name, but he does corn and stuff, and he's a real good engineer too. He used to do Prince,
Oh
Fluff,
wow, so
Fluff something.
well with this album though, so I mean you obviously Kill Hunter's on there was a big hit, or single really. Henchman's back on there again. Obviously you retooled a few things, but with Jeff doing writing and you guys doing writing, and obviously you carried over some of this writing. Are you already thinking about like continuing songwriting with this band now, with this lineup, like as you're doing it? Because some people are always thinking and not putting the
Well,
album out, but thinking about how the next dynamic is going to be. Like who can write? Like oh, you know what I mean?
Well, like I can write songs like Kill the Hunted and write songs like the Nobody song.
That's a good song
Um,
too.
yeah, so that's something that me and a guy named Pat Guyton came up with. It was my idea, my arrangement, and I just came up with the drum beat, and Pat just played the bass, and then we gave it to Kerry, and Kerry came up with the guitar riff,
Right.
and Kerry came up with the chorus, and he also came up with a great idea to take that intro riff and make that riff be the chorus, which was weird, but it was a great idea.
Yeah.
But I can personally do those kind of songs, but when it
Okay.
comes to those guitar riff songs that are just that intricate, that's beyond me. I can't do that stuff. That's a Jeff Gare thing. But that's just like everybody. Everyone's got their own thing. So um, the next record I do will be more along the lines of those two songs.
Yeah.
Or maybe Only the Wicked too.
What, before this, before you even the injury, how much drumming were you doing if you weren't like recording like on a normal thing? How much practicing were you doing to keep up with this?
Not much at all. Because the Leatherwolf, we were just playing shows, so I would just get prepared 2 weeks, maybe a month before. I'd go sit and work on my rudiments for a couple weeks and just go through the songs to get my style back and get in shape to go play the old stuff. But the old stuff was so much simpler to play.
Right.
You know, this time around, I'm going to try to hit the record World Asylum, and hopefully this record gets properly on enough to where we can play some songs on that. And so that's going to be a little tricky doing these ones. And of course, we'll play the classic Leatherwolf stuff because we have to. And plus, there's a lot of the old Leatherwolf stuff that I like the songs I gave you, Gypsies and Thieves, Spirits in the
Yes.
Wind. You know, those
If
are
we're
killer
talking about that,
songs.
those you look forward to hearing those live now because once again they go to 11. The Spinal Tap would say this goes to 11. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
this goes just a
it
little bit.
was
You like that
fun. We
song? You
could
like
play
it a
those
little
just
more?
like the record. Just like those recordings you heard. That's
Yeah.
what that's what level of guys I'm playing with these days.
Fantastic. It's it says a lot. I mean, you got a lot to choose from the set list because this album, a lot of it should. I mean, I think you should play the whole thing, but you can't do that. So it's going to be a challenge for you to do this album, get some past album because you got some past hits, but you got to work the hits in. You know,
Yeah.
obviously.
Well,
So then,
I just found out yesterday we're number one in Japan on Amazon for record
congratulations.
sell, and it's not even out yet. So if something
How'd that
goes on
happen?
with that, then we might be able to do this. And we just started pushing the radio stations, and we're number two in on the playlists. Right now, which is kind of cool. And we'll
Yeah.
just see what happens.
How does publicity work nowadays for a band like this? Like contacting
Well,
is it
you got a different, we hired CMM to promote and get interviews and all that stuff for
okay?
Europe and do radio. And for here, we got Skateboard, Muncie from Skateboard. And I just talked to him today, and he says, "Dude, you're doing killer. You're everyone's picking it up and playing it. So you're good. But you
Well,
have to
perfect.
hire those guys to do that stuff.
Right.
To push the product to the radio stations and the college stations.
Well, and that's different. I mean, back in the day, the record labels were the banks, and they paid for it, and then they just gave you a big bill at the end. You better have sold a lot of stuff. You probably
Well,
still
they're
in the
just trying to
negative.
promote a product, dude, and
Right.
and, and you got to get in front of the people to see if it sticks.
Yeah. But now you're
So we
doing it
don't
all.
have a label. We got Roar in Europe, and they were just kind enough to do this thing, and those guys were really nice, and they really love the band. So that's kind of cool. And then we got a cool Japanese label. I forget what its name is, but they were nice, and plus we got the Hellion in South America, Brazil, and stuff like that.
I imagine the fans really love the triple guitar in Brazil. Very Maiden. People love Maiden, and yeah, I know you guys are doing it before Maiden, so I just imagine you got a lot of
Well, I
fans
think
there.
listen to that stuff, dude. It's way different than Iron Maiden did.
Right. No, but I'm saying they love guitar. I'm saying
Oh yeah,
Brazil
yeah,
loves a
yeah.
lot of guitar. Is what I'm saying.
Well, I I love guitar. That's why there's so much of it on this record. I just kept throwing it on there. Randy kept going, dude, you got too much going on. You got too much shit going on here. You don't need all that stuff.
Oh, it was perfect. It's good.
Yeah.
It stands out. It stands out though. I mean, yeah, if it was poorly produced, it would have been too much because it just would have been muddy or
Well, plus
confusing.
Robbie's playing is just phenomenal, and it's just his whole vibe is just you remember it. Some people like Madhouse think that lead is just phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm looking at the song list here. What my favorite is. I'm digging Enslaved lately, but nobody's probably been my favorite the past 3 days. I've been going back and forth to it. I love Medusa. I mean, I like them all, but I go back and forth on my favorite, you know. And Hit the Dirt was
Yeah,
always
see,
the first one,
nobody
anyhow.
nobody came around for me listening to Alter Bridge. And I really liked the drummer's style because he was using the toms and stuff. So I go, that's just cool.
Yeah.
And so I just came up with an arrangement and I came up with the parts that had that vibe in it, you know.
Mm.
And then I recorded it and sent it to Kerry, and he came up with the guitar riff, you know. But
It's great.
then Robbie wrote the verse for that song. Keith wrote the vocals, but Kerry did write the main chorus.
Well, I mean, this is an album I'm proud of, you know, and I'm gonna tell everybody go out there and get it. Uh, Hopefully this interview, but before it even goes out, I want to think of how next day or two we'll go right out. I want to encourage people. I know you've only done what one show with this lineup,
Yeah, we did M3.
and wasn't there probably, if I'm correct, you didn't get to play it right because you were hurt, or what
No,
was
I played
the?
M3, and then I hurt my wrist,
Yeah. Ah.
and so we got someone else to fill in for me on Rocktember,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
and plus we had to
Sorry.
cancel some European shows because of my injury. You know,
Well, you'll be able to make them up with this album coming out now. And
we'll
how was it
see.
though? Like with the new lineup though, playing live, is it? Did it feel
Oh, it's
like?
killer. It's everyone gets along. Everyone's cool. It's all good.
But it felt
You know,
like
Bryce is playing bass. Um, Luke is playing guitar. Wayne Finley, you know, from I mean, he's a Michael Schenkner guy, so he's done this for years. He's a great player and a nice guy.
yeah. You're not gonna suck to play with Michael. You're not gonna be a suck.
No,
No, you better have your chops together for that.
yeah,
So at this point, so you really don't know any shows got coming up for this, or any kind of release, any
nothing's
special
booked, dude. We
releases.
got nothing. We'll just see if this record does anything and gets us some shows. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
Well, I hope the album should do something. It'll be a crime if it doesn't. You know.
Yeah, you just never know, dude. When it comes to touring and playing in front of real crowds, it's been rough for Leatherwolf.
Well, hopefully this album doing well in Japan might be a good starting spot over there, Japan and over in Asia. You know,
That'd be
be a good
cool.
starting spot. It'd be good. I tell everybody watching this, the links are going for the show, for the website. I'm sorry, for the album. I can be right underneath it. So just get done with this interview, and click on it, check out the album, get the album. You know, it's out 3 days. Um, the artwork's great. Actually, before we end, let's talk about the artwork. I do love the cover.
Okay,
I'm an
so
artwork guy.
that came from Mark Sasso in New York.
Mhm.
He does all a bunch of artwork for a bunch of famous people, you know, and um it's just killer. He's just really good, you know, and he's my friend, and he just really did a great job on this record. I thought on the artwork. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I do too. I really like it. You need to have it's a complete package. You need the music to go with the title, with the lead in the song. It's got the artwork. It's a whole thing, and
It's
it
all pure
helps.
luck, dude. None of it was planned out. It just he just came up with some art. We did our deal in the studio about the songs, and it just came out this way, you know.
Well, it came out good. So,
Thanks.
and that's actually the artwork we're talking about behind you. If people want to get the album, we'll see it. That's awesome, man. Yep, there we go. I love that.
There it is. It's
It's
some cool
awesome.
art.
It is cool. Dean, I want to thank you for coming on. Hopefully you'll be out playing around. I'd like to see you at some point. It'd be great.
Well, right on. Good to hear from you again, buddy, and giddy up.